Warlords of Draenor is the first expansion where Frost Mage has been a truly viable raid spec. It is also a great spec to learn if you're new to Mage. It has both good sustained damage and cleave. Right now the talent choices are very similar between each Mage spec. Being able to cast a move is always great, which means Ice Flows is never a bad talent. Take Evanesce if you need to immune a mechanic for your strat. Flame Glow doesn't do a whole lot for you, but Alter Time takes a lot of practice and forethought to be used correctly. None of the 45 talents have an effect on raiding right now. Greater Invisibility is great for soaking mechanics and dropping threat. Cauterize isn't a bad choice either, but just be ready to Hellstone or Ice Block when it pops. If you have 4-piece and Archimon Trinket, use Unstable Magic because you don't have enough room in your rotation to cast anything else. Use Ice Nova on Manoroth and Zul'Harak, and if you don't have the gear, use Ice Nova on every fight. If you do not have to move much in a fight, pick Rune of Power. If you find yourself having to randomly move and place more than a few runes, use Encounter's Flow instead. If you have the Archimon Trinket, I would use Thermal Void. Prismatic Crystal can possibly barely be better on single target though. The glyphs you want to use right now are Glyph of Icy Veins to make your Icy Veins give multi-strike instead of haste, Glyph of Splitting Ice to add a cleave to your Ice Lance, and Glyph of Displacement to add another charge to your blink. Glyph of Water Elemental can be helpful in 5-mans and on fights where your Water Elemental is constantly getting out of range. The best stat for Frost Mages, and the one that you want to be using to gem and enchant, is Multi-Strike. Next up is Crit, but be mindful of the soft cap at 33%. Haste is the next best, followed by Versatility and last Mastery. The Trinket from Archimon increases the damage of Ice Lances that are cast right after a Frostbolt by up to 96% depending on the Trinket's item level. As you can imagine, this is a huge DPS increase, but it also makes a large impact on the rotation. The 4-piece set bonus also changes the rotation dramatically by increasing the uptime of your pet's ability, Water Jet. This feeds you way more Fingers of Frost than you would normally have, so to help you out with that, it increases the amount you can hold from 2 up to 4. The Trinket paired with the 4-piece means you spend pretty much the whole fight managing your Fingers of Frost procs. The rotation for Frost is a short priority list. First thing on the list is to keep Frozen Orb on cooldown and only sit on it for a few seconds if you're saving it for AoE. Also keep Water Jet on cooldown and try and cast it mid-Frostbolt cast. Next thing on the list is to use Frost Firebolt if you have 2 procs of Brain Freeze. Then cast Ice Lance if you're capped on Fingers of Frost. If you have no procs to use, cast Frostbolt as your filler. The base Frost rotation ends up being about making sure you don't waste any of your procs. With the Trinket and 4-piece this is still the case, but you'll have a lot more procs to deal with and it takes a lot longer to use them. With the Trinket and 4-piece, the rotation is about building and maintaining procs during Water Jet and working through them in between. During Water Jet, make sure you build the 4 Fingers of Frost, then start spending them after Frostbolt. When Water Jet is over, use your Frost Firebolts when you get a chance. If the rotation is done correctly, there should be very little downtime of only casting Frostbolts in between your Water Jets. The only cooldown that wasn't in the rotation that we haven't gone over is Icy Veins. You want to use this on the pole and on cooldown, but save your last Icy Veins of the fight for the legendary ring. The opener for Frost is very weak compared to a lot of classes. Frozen Orb 2 to 2.5 seconds before the pole based on how far away you are from the boss. Pre-pot and cast 2 Frostbolts in a row. In the middle of the second Frostbolt, cast Water Jet. You should have an Ice Lance from the orb hitting the boss. Use Icy Veins and cast the Ice Lance. Now you pretty much just start your normal rotation and cast Frostbolt and Ice Lance back and forth. Forever. Right before ring expires, use your Brain Freeze. If you were using Prismatic Crystal, do the same opener, but drop Crystal before you start casting the first Frostbolt. WeakAuras is the best add-on for tracking buffs and debuffs, and is probably the best add-on all around. In the description there's a link for a WeakAura that shows if you have a second Brain Freeze proc, and one for showing if you have a 3rd and 4th Fingers of Frost. Even though Frost is only the best raiding spec for brief moments in Warlords of Draenor, it has come a long way from the other expansions. And right now, Frost is a nice change of pace from the proc-reliant Arcane Mage. I hope this guide has helped you out, and I'll see you all in Legion.